Welcome, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're cracking open a really fascinating resource you sent us, Tansel Ali's How to Learn Almost Anything in 48 Hours. Now, that title alone is a pretty bold statement, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Learning almost anything in just 2 days. It definitely catches your eye.
Yeah, so our mission today is to really dig into this book. We want to pull out the core concepts, the principles, which are quite surprising, actually, and the practical techniques. And we'll bring those stories and examples Tansel shares to life, too, to give you a real shortcut to understanding, how to apply these rapid learning strategies yourself.
And it couldn't be more relevant, honestly. We live in this age of just information overload, right? Our brains are constantly bombarded with data from online school, work, seminars. It's everywhere. So knowing how to learn smarter and maybe more importantly, remember more. That's not just a nice skill to have. It's genuinely like a superpower.
A superpower. I like that.
Yeah, and this deep dive, it's really about showing you how to, activate that superpower within yourself, how to turn that feeling of being swamped by information, which can be pretty stressful,
Oh, definitely.
into something that's actually exciting, maybe even fun. A journey of discovery, kind of.
I love that framing. And what's so interesting right off the bat is how this book just challenges so much of what we think about learning.
Oh.
Cancel Ali's whole philosophy, it's a big departure from, traditional rote memorization,
Yeah.
the kind most of us were drilled on in school.
Right, the endless repetition.
Exactly. But he doesn't just talk about it. He actually did it. The book opens with his own story, which is pretty amazing. He's a 3-time Australian memory champion, and he proved these methods work by memorizing 2 entire Yellow Pages phone books
2 phone books.
in just 24 days. I mean, if you've ever felt overwhelmed trying to learn something new, how does hearing that sort of shift your perspective on what's even possible?
Well, that's exactly the point, isn't it? It's like this immediate proof against the idea that, some people are just born smart and others aren't. The Getting Started chapter really hammers home the importance of mindset. It's all about mindset. And what's fascinating is this core belief he puts forward. Time is perhaps the most precious thing we possess. And even though all this information overload causes anxiety, learning should be exciting. It should be fun.
Yeah.
The book really pushes back hard against the idea that, like, your school grades or where you came from limits your ability to learn. It basically says nothing is too difficult if you bring imagination and, crucially, the will to actually do it.
So it's not about some innate gift.
No, not at all. Tansel presents these techniques as tools, accessible tools anyone can use to achieve really extraordinary things, whether that's learning a language super fast or, becoming a better leader.
So right from the start, there are these really actionable takeaways, like make the most of now. Don't put off starting something new because, well, the chance is only really now.
The present moment.
And a big one, I think, for a lot of people. Don't be afraid to fail. He uses that Muhammad Ali analogy about sit-ups,
Ah, yeah, I remember that.
where Ali only started counting when it started to hurt. Pushing through that discomfort, that's where the real growth happens.
Right.
So sticking with it, even when it's tough, and seeing failure as just feedback, not the end of the world.
That analogy really captures the commitment needed, doesn't it? Okay, so let's get into the mechanics. Chapter 2, Memory Principles. This is where we find the fundamental insight. Imagination, not repetition. That's the most effective way to remember things.
Imagination, okay.
Yeah, think about it. Our brain processes words, linguistic stuff, mostly on one side, visuals, images on the other. So when you encode abstract text into vivid multisensory images, you're basically lighting up both sides of your brain at once.
Ah, interesting.
Because it creates a much stickier memory. Like, what's more memorable, reading a dry textbook description or watching a really engaging movie scene?
The movie scene, definitely.
Exactly, because there's visual emotional engagement. Our brains are fundamentally wired for stories and experiences, not just dry facts.
Okay, so imagination is the engine. But how do we actually create those vivid, unforgettable images systematically? Especially for stuff that isn't naturally visual, like concepts or lists.
Right, and that's where this brilliant tool comes in, the Smash and Scope acronym.
Smash and scoop.
Yeah, it's a framework actually developed by Tony Buzan and Vanda North, and it's designed to basically supercharge your visual creativity. It gives you specific elements to focus on.
So it's like a checklist for making memorable images.
Sort of, but it's more than just a random list. It's a system that helps you tap into how your brain naturally makes things memorable. It covers things like synesthesia senses, movement, association, sexuality, self, humor, imagination, numbers, symbolism, color, order, positive images, and exaggeration.
Wow, that's quite a list.
It is, but the power isn't just listing them, it's using them. The brilliance is tapping into how we're wired for these vivid multisensory experiences. We remember stories, emotions, humor, not just dry facts. For example, let's pick 3 really key ones from Smash and Scope. Synesthesia, engaging all senses.
Yeah.
Humor, funny stuff, sticks. And exaggeration, making things larger than life.
Okay.
The book uses a simple example. A cat. You could just picture a cat. Boring.
Right.
But using Smash and Scope, imagine a bright red cat that's color makes it stand out. And maybe it suddenly smells like it just farted.
Chuckles. Yeah.
That's synesthesia, hitting your sense of smell unexpectedly. Then it jumps right on top of you. That's movement, rubbing that awful smell all over your clothes association. The whole thing is exaggerated for humor and imagination. You create these silly, absurd stories that just stick because they're so unusual and, well, engaging.
Okay, I'm definitely not forgetting the red farting cat anytime soon. That makes sense. And building on that idea of transforming abstract stuff, the book introduces something called the yellow elephant memory model.
Hey.
It sounds like a 4-step guide for tackling memory problems. Abstract image association. And this seems like it directly addresses that common issue, like how do you remember a name? Which is totally abstract. Can you walk us through an example, like with a name?
Absolutely. The yellow elephant is perfect for anything abstract that doesn't just pop into your head as an image. Let's take the name Claire.
Okay.
Step 1, abstract, the name itself. Step 2, image. Turn Claire into something visual. Maybe find a rhyme like bear. Now you have a concrete image, a bear.
Right, bear.
Step 3, association. This is crucial. Create a strong, often physical connection between that image and the person. So you could visualize Claire being, I don't know, eaten by the bear, or maybe she has really sharp claw-like hands that look like bear paws.
Oh, okay. A bit intense, but memorable?
Exactly. The physical connection really helps lock it in. And step 4, communication, is just about refining that image or story in your mind so you can easily recall it or even explain it if you had to. And this applies more broadly, too. Like when you're listening to something new, the idea is to visualize it as you hear it, or maybe organize it visually first, like with a mind map, to build those connecting stories. It works because it plays to our brain's strengths. Visual linked information.
So, okay, we've got Smash and Scope for vivid images, yellow elephant for abstract stuff. That gives us the mindset and the principles. But how do we actually practice this? Build the skill. That sounds like Chapter 3, memory techniques, the actual toolkit. These aren't gifts, right? They're learned skills.
Exactly. Learned mental activities, as the book calls them. Anyone can master them. One of the most fundamental is linking and association.
Ah, the story method.
Pretty much. You connect items sequentially in a story, however weird it gets. Like that shopping list example, shoes, milk, mail carrier, donkey, blue.
Yeah.
Instead of just the list, you imagine your shoes smelling profusely. Awful smell. Then milk starts pouring out of the shoes, which then splatters all over a mail carrier. He gets mad, jumps on a nearby donkey, and starts chasing you. And as you're running away, you feel sick and turn blue.
That's ridiculous.
But memorable. Each item links directly to the next. It forms a chain. The only catch is, if you forget one link, the rest can fall apart. So each connection needs to be really vivid.
And for numbered lists, you mentioned things like number rhyme, like one is gun, 2 is shoe.
Yeah, or number shape, where 1 looks like a candlestick, 2 looks like a swan. They just give you different hooks, different ways to peg items in a sequence if numbers are involved.
Okay.
But for really large amounts of information or things where the sequence is critical, the method of loci, the memory palace, is incredibly powerful.
The classic. I've heard of this.
Yeah, it's ancient. Used by Greek orators, you use a familiar place, like your house, and place items you need to remember in specific locations along a route. So maybe your front door transforms into a giant mobile phone you have to swipe to get in. Then your bed is completely smeared with yogurt.
Messy.
Then your shower is just full of cucumbers you have to rub on yourself. The sink makes a loud chainsaw noise when you turn it on. And when you open the kitchen cupboard, a tiger is squeezed inside, ready to pounce.
Wow. Okay, so each location holds one piece of information as a bizarre image.
Exactly. Its real strength is handling lots and lots of data in a specific, easily retrievable order. You just mentally walk the route.
That makes sense why it's lasted so long.
Yeah.
Okay, another tool from Chapter 3 you mentioned was mind mapping, Tony Buzan's invention.
Yes, a fantastic tool.
It's nonlinear, visual, helps organize scattered thoughts on one page. How is it better than just taking regular notes?
Well, its biggest advantage is that it kind of mirrors how our brains actually think. We think in connections and associations, not really in straight lines or bullet points.
Right.
So a mind map lets you literally see the big picture and how all the details connect. It's great for study notes, brainstorming, planning projects, even things like a SWOT analysis for business. Seeing the links helps you understand the info much more deeply, not just recall facts.
And that visual organization idea seems to connect to speed reading too. But this isn't just skimming, right? You're not missing stuff.
Definitely not skimming. The whole point is to stop reading word by tedious word, which is super inefficient.
Okay.
Instead, you train yourself to group words into chunks of meaning. You process whole phrases as visual units. The book suggests using a visual guide, like your finger moving under the words, to keep your eyes moving forward and stop them jumping back.
Like a pacer.
Exactly. And even better is image flow, where you mentally chunk phrases, like you don't read the quick brown fox. You see the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog as 3 visual blocks. This massively boosts speed and comprehension. The book uses an example like reading 7 tips to reduce stress at work. You'd grasp concepts like take a break or learn to say no much faster as whole ideas.
It's amazing how these build, from single memories to processing big chunks of text faster. Okay, so Chapter 4 gets into advanced memory techniques, building even further.
That's right. These are for the really heavy lifting, complex data, large volumes. They systematically turn abstract things, especially numbers, into concrete images. It covers systems like the major system. This one encodes numbers into phonetic sounds. So 0 is S or Z, 1 is T or D, 2 is N, 3 is M, and so on.
Okay, so you turn a number into sounds, then into a word.
Exactly. You make a word from the sounds, visualize the word. There's also the Dominic system, which is similar but encodes digits into people and their specific actions. Which brings us back to that big question. How did Tansel Ali actually memorize those yellow pages? He didn't use a memory palace, did he?
You said he couldn't, right?
Yeah.
Too much random data.
Precisely. He couldn't predict the order they'd test him in, and finding enough distinct locations for that many numbers is practically impossible, so he used the major system. He'd first visualize the business ad itself, get a clear picture, then he'd take the phone number, decode it chunk by chunk into images using the major system. For instance, 92 might become pen, 17 might become dog.
Okay, pen dog.
Then, and this is key, he'd link those images to his visualization of the business in a strong, connected story, often physical. So for Bob's Cleaning 92177747, he might picture Bob the cleaner pulling out a giant pen, 92, starting to write on his pet dog, 17. The dog then jumps into a big cake, 77 kilo K sound, and suddenly Rocky Balboa, 47 RK sound, bursts out of the cake.
Oh, laughs. That's completely bonkers. But I see how it works. It connects the number directly to the business ad through this crazy story.
Exactly. It shows you have to pick the right tool for the job. Loci is great for sequence, major system is amazing for volume and random access like phone numbers. It highlights the adaptability.
That's a fantastic example. It really brings it home. Okay, so we have this amazing toolkit. Principles, basic techniques, advanced systems. Now, how do we actually use this stuff day to day? Beyond, phone book memorization contest, chapters 6 through 11 seem to cover this using these techniques part, applying it to real life.
Yeah. Chapter 6, Everyday Memory, has some great practical tips, like for remembering where you put your keys. Instead of just dropping them, take 2 seconds to create a vivid image. Imagine the keys getting bigger and bigger, so heavy they smash the table you put them on. Hear the wood crack. Feel the impact.
Okay, make it dramatic.
Exactly. For shopping lists, that linking method is perfect. The book gives another fun example. You get sprayed with seltzer water, then someone dumps flour on you, you blush red like a raspberry, try to wash it off with chocolate syrup. Run for toilet paper, find a pineapple ring stuck around your neck, realize it smells like cat food, try to wash your mouth with dishwashing liquid, spray window cleaner everywhere, and finally celebrate the chaos with popcorn.
Totally absurd, but again, I bet you'd remember the list. What about something like passwords? That's a modern nightmare.
Oh, yeah. Passwords are a prime candidate for the yellow elephant model because they're pure abstraction. Take a random one like SMFXFGJQ.
Okay, looks impossible.
But you turn it into a story. Maybe a small snail is climbing a large mountain. You hear weird sound effects, FX, coming from a massive fireplace, F, that has tiny goji berries growing inside it. And then a giant queen, Q, walks in and starts munching on the berries.
Snail, mountain, sound effects, fireplace, goji, queen. Okay, I can almost see that.
And if your username is related to something personal, like your cats Damo and Craig, you just link the cats into that story somehow. Maybe the snail is riding Damo up the mountain. You build the story once, make it vivid, and then you just recall the story instead of the random letters.
That's actually brilliant. Makes so much more sense than brute force. The book also gets into study techniques, right?
Yeah.
Chapter 7, like for math formulas.
Yeah, making formulas physical and visual. Area of a triangle, half x base, x height. You picture yourself walking halfway up the side of a triangle, then you jump down onto its base, and then you jump as high as you can to reach the top, the height.
Turning abstract symbols into actions.
Exactly. And it mentions how mind mapping is huge for organizing essays. You map out the structure, the key points, the flow before you start writing sentences. It gives you a clear roadmap.
That would save a lot of time staring at a blank page.
Definitely. And then chapter 9, learning languages. This one's interesting. It argues against memorizing single words in isolation.
Really? Isn't that how everyone does it? Flashcards.
Mostly, yeah. But the book says it's much faster to memorize whole phrases, just like how we learned our first language, and link them to sound-alike images. So for Chinese, in Ij a ma, ha ma, you think ni hao ma. Picture hitting your knee, asking how it happened, and then your ma asking, how are you?
Ni hao ma.
Okay. For French, comment allez-vous? How are you?
Mm.
Maybe comment allez-vous? Imagine someone making a funny comment to the boxer Ali, who turns to vous, you, and asks, how are you? Pair that with hearing the correct pronunciation, and apparently you get fluent much quicker because you're learning usable chunks.
Learning language in context, not just isolated words. Makes sense. And it covers music, too.
Yep, Chapter 10, learning music. Techniques for memorizing notes, chords, tablature for guitar or piano, even whole pieces. And Chapter 11, knowing more about everything, applies it to general knowledge. Countries and capitals. Picture eating rabbit stew in Morocco to remember Rabat.
Rabbit stew. Rabat. Okay.
More for quiz questions. Male swan is a cob. Picture a male swan always eating corn on the cob. It's just endlessly adaptable.
It really seems like you can apply this framework to almost anything. Which brings us to the sort of ultimate challenge, maybe. Chapter 12. Become a memory athlete.
Ah, the championships.
Yeah.
Yeah, this chapter shows the absolute peak of these skills. But what's really cool is the emphasis that these competitors, they're mostly everyday, average people.
Not photographic memory geniuses.
Oh, nope. Just
Okay.
people who have trained these techniques to an extraordinary level, doing truly extraordinary things with their brain, as the book says.
That's really the inspiring part, isn't it?
Mhm.
It proves it's about the method, the training, not some innate gift.
Exactly right. And while, sure, the competitions push memory to the absolute limit, the skills you develop along the way, intense focus, concentration, discipline, setting and achieving goals, managing time effectively, those are valuable everywhere in life.
That's-
And it's interesting, too, you see the link between speed reading and memory in events like speed numbers. Competitors read long strings of digits fast, encoding them. The winners are often those who can bunch together more digits into a single image or story at each location in their memory palace. Maybe 4, 6, even 10 digits per image instead of just 2.
So more efficient encoding.
Way more efficient. It really proves that old saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words, or in this case, maybe 10 digits.
So if people listening want to really test these skills, put their new memory toolbox to work, Chapter 13, Practice Your Skills, throws down some challenges.
Oh yeah, big ones, like memorizing 20 decks of playing cards, or reading a 300-page book cover to cover with recall in 3 hours, memorizing 50 phone numbers.
Wow, okay, those are serious goals.
They are, but they're presented as ways to really solidify the techniques, to stretch your abilities, and see what your brain is truly capable of once you give it the right instructions. They're not just party tricks.
Well, this has been quite a journey through Tansewali's book. We've really unpacked how making that shift, moving away from rote learning towards these imaginative, structured techniques, it really can transform your ability to learn, well, almost anything.
It really can, and the core message, I think, is that it's not about being a genius. It's about having the right tools and knowing how to use them, applying specific learnable strategies that actually work with how your brain is wired. If you connect that to the bigger picture, it kind of suggests that the main thing holding most people back from learning isn't really their capability, it's their approach, and maybe their belief about what's possible for them.
That's a really powerful thought to end on. It reframes the whole challenge of learning. So here's something for all of you listening to think about. If pretty much any knowledge can be turned into a memorable story using these kinds of techniques, what incredible, maybe seemingly impossible subject will you choose to tackle next? Simply by changing the way you think about how to learn it.